Okay. Hello, everybody. It's the miracle of modern technology again. Welcome to Meditation Australia's online interview series. My name is Megan Spencer, and I'm a registered member with Meditation Australia and on the board as well. And we thought it might be a nice idea to bring you a series of interviews and conversations with inspiring people in the world of meditation and meditation teaching, because Meditation Australia is, of course, the national peak industry body for both. And yes, today's special guest is Melli O'Brien, who you can see sitting in front of us right now. Hi, Melli. Thank you very
Hey,
much for being here. Just to introduce you a little bit further, if I may, Mellie, I'm sure, is a familiar face to many of you watching today. If, like me, you're one of the couple of 100,000 people around the world who signed up for the Mindfulness Summit back in 2015, you would know Mellie from that. That was her baby. It was what I think is one of the first online mindfulness summits. She was there first, one of the pioneers. They're quite prevalent these days. But yeah, it was very inspiring watching lots of and listening to lots of different contemplative teachers, meditation teachers, scientists discussing mindfulness and meditation in a concentrated form for over a month. And I got so much out of that. So I want to acknowledge you and say thank you for that, Mellie. It really actually changed my life and changed me up a notch as a meditation teacher as well. I've kind of been dying to talk to you for a few years, actually. So it's a great opportunity to do that. And Mellie is also an Australian educator, speaker, mindfulness meditation teacher, and yoga teacher herself. She's been running in real life IRL meditation courses and retreats for a good number of years from her platform, Mrs. Mindfulness. And she's also what I might hazard to venture a seeker. She's been investigating and exploring meditation for over 2 decades across a wide range of traditions as well. And she's just launched a brand new mindfulness app called mindfulness.com, and she's speaking to us today from Canada. So that's your introduction. Hello again, Mellie.
thanks. Yeah, I'm really stoked to be talking with you, and yeah, it's really lovely to know that you were along for the ride for the Mindfulness Summit. It was yeah, personally, it also changed me. All those conversations really upped my ante as well. It was such a really special time. I think about it very fondly. It's nice to
Mm.
know that you were along.
I feel actually it was a little bit like a rite of passage for me. It really expanded my horizons. You had such a broad range of, speakers, teachers, people who've dedicated their entire lives to what we do, which is teaching meditation. And I really do have a deep sense of gratitude towards you and your team for giving that to me and the world, obviously, the rest of the world. Um, but it leads me actually, Melly, to my first question to you, which is, if you don't mind, maybe if we could just start a little bit with the impulse that your own meditation practice grew out of, and then maybe your own meditation teaching practice grew out of. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that story.
Sure. I feel like it's a very typical story if you talk to lots of people in, I think, healing industries and also in our industry. And it is an industry now. It's kind of weird because I feel like when I started teaching, it was almost like not really an industry, but now it is one. But my own story started with suffering, as so many of us do, right? I just had a really, really tough childhood. And actually, I think when I think back, if I'm really honest, there was kind of two things going on. One was that there was a lot of suffering. And then the other was that I was having these incredibly rich and beautiful spiritual experiences when I was a child. and I think a lot of us do when we're kids. There's a lot of people, when you speak to them, have these natural moments of deep presence when they're young. And so I had this weird juxtaposition going on where I had a lot of suffering in one moment, and then in another moment, when I was alone in nature outside on my own, just these incredible moments where I had this profound, almost shimmering sense of connection with reality, and just a heart that felt as open as anything, and just flooded with feelings of love and feelings that everything's okay. This kind of, that's something that really stuck with me whenever I was in those kind of really embodied states of presence. There was this intense feeling of everything's okay, just as it is, just like a comfort, and just feeling completely at home in the world. But then the next minute I could go inside and my family, there'd be a lot of discord in the house, and all these feelings of anxiousness and, negative thinking would sort of, I would just have a barrage of that kind of. So it was kind of this really interesting thing that I was having this juxtaposition of these two things. But by the time I was a teenager, I was pretty like messy, I would say. It was pretty messy. I think I would say I had depression, undiagnosed, but very deep feelings of self-loathing and very incredibly negative self-talk. And it was just kind of crushing my self-esteem and my willpower. And it got to a point where it was completely debilitating, just completely debilitating. And I kind of went through a bit of a dark night of the soul, where I was just like, I cannot possibly live like this. This you could not possibly live a whole lifetime. I'm like 17 years old. I can't live like this for decades. I can't. It's too painful. So I remember I went to the school library the next day, and I was looking for books on wisdom, like anything. How do you be happy? Like, can people be happy? How do you work this out? So that was the beginning of a bit of an adventure into just wanting to understand what is it possible for human beings to be fulfilled? How do you end suffering? And then I just started to find all my answers through the world's wisdom teachings. I took my first meditation course that year when I was 17, and it just remember having these massive aha moments of going, oh my God, like I don't actually have to listen to those thoughts in my head. Oh, whoa, this is huge, and it just excited me. It was just the possibility, like to feel so stuck, to really believe that you were trapped in that dark, painful place, and to find out that you in fact were not, and that it was only a sort of hypnosis that you were casting on yourself in a way, and you had an enormous amount of control over that inner dialogue and that inner state of being, was like the most exciting thing that has ever happened to me in my life, discovering that. And I think, as for your own, the question about teaching is sort of like, that's how my journey started into mindfulness itself. But I think it just sort of went into teaching because I became my ex-partner, who's also now my business partner. He used to say, like, jokingly to me all the time, that this wasn't just a love, this was an obsession. Like I could, go to, because I could like go and go to some kind of like a retreat or something like that, and then come home, and instead of watching TV, I would just watch another spiritual talk, or I would just go and do more meditation. It was just love, I'm like, this is like the ultimate adventure, trying to find more interesting things. So I think it just caught a hold of me, and I don't think I could have had any other career, once I just wanted to share this with people. I'm like, I found the most amazing discovery. I would love to, if you want to hear about it, like I'll just talk about it all day. So come on, let's hang out.
Yeah.
I might as well teach it. I'm talking and thinking about it all the time anyway, because it's just so interesting. It's just so interesting to me, the power of presence, the transformational power that it holds is just, I'm still discovering and learning things every day. They're like, oh, another light bulb moment. How fun is this? And how healing it is, and
Yeah.
how heart opening it is, and how much it unlocks. I think what I love about it too is on the macrocosmic scale, like we have this individual scale of how these transformations happen. But I think what excites me the most is on the macrocosmic scale, once you've experienced, what mindfulness can do to transform your own inner world, you really get that if that happened on a larger scale in the world, that I think I hold this belief that true sustainable change towards creating a truly like kind and wise and sustainable world is going to happen from the inside out, one heart and one mind at a time. And I just want to participate in the unveiling of that. I want to participate in creating that, and that's just what better way to spend my time than doing that.
Yeah, it's really interesting hearing you talk about it. It's very poetic and eloquent, but it's also very organic. It sounds like it kind of grew out of you and it touches most aspects of your life. And I might as well just ask you now, as a teacher and as a practitioner, who are you learning from at the moment? Who are your teachers right now?
The pandemic.
Because we should point out you are stuck in Canada right now, and if you're wondering about our connection, Mellie's actually on satellite, so it's a bit sticky. We can hear you loud and clear, it's fine. But yeah, you're stuck in Canada courtesy of the pandemic right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. And yeah, I think the pandemic is my greatest teacher right now. I mean, I'm always touching in with quite a few teachers, and I have my own personal coach as well. I like this. We have, like the Mindfulness Summit is also, I guess, I love to take in many different perspectives from people. I love listening to lots of different teachers, and so I'm really taking on the support of people right now. There's a lot of beautiful people in our world. There's so many people giving away free resources and free coaching and time, and I'm leaning on that support and also giving that support. But I'm leaning on the people as well at the moment. I'm really taking in that support. But yeah, the pandemic has been, and not just the pandemic, the death of George Floyd and everything that's happening around the world is, it feels a little like a pressure cooker, being a lot of the plans that I had have been taken away. Work is a little more challenging, being that I'm here. And just the rawness of everything that's happening with the protests around the world, and there's a kind of a rawness in me around the fact that we're still fighting for that people are still having to fight so hard just to be treated with dignity and respect and kindness, is raw for me. It's like, and I'm learning a lot of acceptance right now. I'm learning a lot, like on a personal level, I'm learning a lot of, we learn these things over and over again, don't we? I mean, it's one thing to get something intellectually, and then there's all these layers of embodiment or integration. And I feel like right now, with everything that's kind of up in the air, combined with this kind of isolation, I'm very isolated here. I'm in a small town. I'm away from my friends group. And there's a real retreat-like feeling to it, which tends to make those things that come up really right in your face. So I'm really learning more about the ways in which I resist what's happening. And
That's
I'm
really
learning
interesting, isn't
more
it?
and I'm just really learning a lot about softening and trusting life, and just taking action on the things that need taking action on, the things that I believe in, the things that I care about and want to support, and also knowing when to step back and stop. Because I can be quite A-typey. It's in my nature. I'm a little bit driven. And sometimes when things get a bit hairy, my response is to just expend every single bit of energy that I have trying to do something about it. And it's actually not always wisdom. In my case, it's not always wisdom. Sometimes it's just the urge to fix and control and kind of get everything. So I'm learning I'm learning acceptance, I'm learning trust, I'm learning surrender. But not at the
Okay.
expense of doing what I believe in, but doing it in a more balanced way. I'm sort of learning, I think that's it. I think that's what I'm learning here is more about, I'm learning a balance, between serving and surrendering. So the pandemic is a very, very good teacher. And I'm sure it'll give me more lessons to come.
Yeah, a retreat without end at the moment for some people. It sounds like possibly yourself in a big country like Canada with the borders still closed today, the moment that we're recording. Which is, like just to follow on from what you've just raised there, maybe we can move now into exploring your new app a little bit, because this is ostensibly an online or a digital offering. And yeah, I'm just curious around your decision to go ahead with that. I mean, there's been, as you said, an explosion of online offerings and courses and workshops and this and that since the pandemic started. And even actually, if we rewind back in Australia, at least, with all of the bushfires that happened at the end of last year and at the start of this one, I noticed a lot of that stuff started to, blip up on the social media feeds and online. And yeah, just that impulse or that decision to go into that space and create your own app. I know it's taken some time. It's not like you snapped your fingers and decided to do it around the pandemic. It's obviously taken a long time to put it all together. But I thought I'd ask you this interesting kind of question that certainly is in amongst the meditation teaching community around online tools, in real life teaching versus digital offerings. Some people think, and apps sort of do us out of a job, meditation teachers do us out of a job, or other people just think they're awesome because, it makes meditation much more accessible and convenient and mobile. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts to share around those sort of polarities when you came to that decision to go into creating your own and your motivations for doing it.
Yeah. There's I guess the one thing, the way that mindfulness.com kind of got born, if you will, was actually out of, that time when we were post the Mindfulness Summit, and we had this huge community of people who'd taken part, and loads of requests to keep doing something. And we didn't really know what that something was yet. It was a bit unformulated for a while. And it's actually been, the Mindfulness Summit was in 2015. It's now 2020. So it's quite a long time in the making, actually. And we wanted to, I guess, keep supporting that community. When it comes down to it, we want to keep supporting that community and keep something about that, the spirit of the Mindfulness Summit. We wanted to keep the spirit of that going. So, and so mindfulness.com again has this intention to bring together some of the world's most respected teachers, most trusted teachers in this platform to be able to share their work. So that'll gradually happen over time. And the other thing that the Mindfulness Summit did was it raised a lot of money for not-for-profit parts of the mindfulness industry. There's a lot of people doing amazing stuff, like mindfulness in prisons, mindfulness for people with chronic pain, all kinds of underprivileged communities, people who can't afford mindfulness. There's all kinds of scholarship programs, amazing work going on out there. But one of their biggest struggles is often funding. So mindfulness.com has that same intention to be able to support those communities. And we're just about to roll out a one-to-one model as well for people who can't afford mindfulness training. So we'll do, when somebody buys a subscription to mindfulness.com, we'll give one somewhere. So we're just figuring out how to roll that out. So it has all those same intentions in it to support the community in that way, but to do it in an ongoing way, not just an event and then we disappear on them. We do have plans to do the Mindfulness Summit again next year, and this time we'll be able to actually support them in the follow-up, and they'll be able to do it on their phones, which is much more convenient. But I hear you on the I've actually participated in some really interesting conversations and listened to some very strong opinions for and against apps. I mean, I've heard some people really, really against them. And I have to say, for a while, I mean, I've taught in person most of my life in concentrated ways. Five-day retreat is what I mainly do. And some 8-week programs, and they're intensive, and there's high expectations of people to really do a lot of practice. And the apps rarely give you the same, depth of like 45 minutes every single day is the expectation if they do something like MBSR, plus all the in-class stuff. One of the things that really shifted my perspective on this a couple of years ago was the habit formation research. So actually getting someone to pick up a habit and keep it for life, the research was showing that small daily doses to begin with, built up over time, is creating a daily habit for people, a daily routine for people. So that for me is a really powerful thing. To just want people to do it, yes. Not to go. And I had for my own retreats, for years and years, I actually had this kind of semi-frustrating experience because I used to check in with people 6 months later and then sometimes a year later, and the same thing, right? After the retreat, thank you so much for the retreat. After the retreat, my partner said I was less reactive. I had this amazing thing. I was sleeping better, and I'm like, oh, great. And how are you now? Oh, yeah, no, I don't meditate anymore. And I wasn't on for a while, and then it's kind of fell off the wagon. And I started to introduce things to kind of try and help them build habits. So I had a 30-day challenge after every retreat and these check-in calls, and really trying to get and lowering the dose of meditation so that they would actually do it. And so there's this kind of like tension between wanting them to have the most profound results by doing the most practice in the highest quality way, in person, really, like that, and then actually getting them to do a daily habit consistently. Because many people, when I would do the 8-week courses, would also say they're not actually doing it daily because it's 45 minutes. They're hard to fit into their routine. So it's high demand, but they get high results. This is kind of like lower demand, so they get hopefully a positive kind of positive feedback loop where they kind of have that upward spiral. So it's a bit slower, more good on the habit change. But I remember chatting to Rick Hansen years ago, and I was asking him about a similar thing, and he just kept saying to me, if it's good, it's good. If it's good, it's good. Just like, people these days are going through such a hard time to be human. Like, the human mind was not designed for the way that we're living. It's very stressful. It's very anxiety provoking. Lots of people are experiencing depression, like chronic overwhelm, stress. He was just like, if you're doing a great job. Like you're qualified, you know what you're doing. Just he was kind of like, get this out to as many human beings as you possibly can. You know, just if it's good, it's good. Give them 5 minutes, preferably 45. But if they'll take 5, give them 5 minutes of just like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel myself in the middle of that debate. I really feel that, you know. I'm not sure that I would say that I have all the right answers. What I do have is an insatiable desire to end as much suffering as I can, and I think this method is not perfect, but it will serve that purpose. Yeah. And hopefully be a great gateway drug for people to do more and more practice and retreat and courses. And, you know, got this like slight ulterior motive that, you know, they have a taste of the honey and then they're like, wow, I want more of that.
I love that.
I'd like to take this further.
That's a great way to describe it. Well, look, let's slide through that gateway now, Mellie. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about mindfulness.com, the app, and yeah, what like just a bit of a snapshot of what it is and who it's for and how it actually does serve people in creating that, as you mentioned, that all important habit, remembering to remember to meditate, you know, to get that benefit.
Yeah. The mindfulness.com, like the heart of, so mindfulness.com has launched right now, first of all with an app, and the kind of core experience in the app right now is called the Daily Mindfulness. And the Daily Mindfulness is video coaching. So it's a micro learning lesson each day. So under 4 minute video, usually about 3 minute video with some kind of tip on mindful living, or sometimes it's just an inspiration or a reminder, but there's really a focus on not just meditation, but, you know, mindfulness as a way of being. And it's so yeah, we have a short video coaching followed by a meditation that is designed to help you integrate whatever the theme of the day is. And yeah, it's a bit different to what else is out there in terms of the personal. It's quite intimate and personal. So the videos are quite I guess casual, friendly, warm, just kind of like conversational. And there's that yeah, I think, and especially in the pandemic, there's a sense of warmth and connection, and we're saying, you know, it's kind of like mindfulness coaching, if you will. So you get a daily bit of wisdom to kind of take one more step in your practice, and then the theme to meditate on, and then other than that, we're bringing gradually on this year. So myself and my co-host of the app, Corey Mascara, we're kind of like holding the Daily Mindfulness right now. We're kind of that central connection with people. And we are bringing on more and more people who are experts in their field to do to have they kind of like will host a topic. So there will be someone who's the expert on anxiety. There'll be a great in-depth course on anxiety, some daily coaching on that, and someone doing stress, somebody who's an expert in sleep, and so on and so on, someone who's an expert in mindfulness for chronic pain, leadership, focus. And so the libraries are kind of getting bigger and bigger every day. But we already have also a really big library of meditations, talks from all kinds of different teachers, courses and things like that. So yeah.
Sounds quite broad. And you know what I actually do think is incredibly useful for all the reasons you said before. I'm not anti-app at all. In fact, I don't think it has to be either or, you know. I think it's
Yeah.
tools to build. But what I love is that you can, you know, depending on what you need, you can choose something. And I think that's so important when people are you know, starting out or developing a practice, which is checking in you know, what is it I
Yeah.
actually need to look after myself, and then having at the resources at their, you know, disposal to be able to select that. And that can lead you onto all sorts of other paths, you know, that are bigger in the broader picture of whatever meditation, you know, you're choosing to practice.
Yeah. And I think what's one thing that we really focused on in creating mindfulness.com is also that people are able to really kind of curate their experience inside the app. So, you know, when they come on, if they are wanting, if anxiety is something that they're wanting to focus on, then we show them up, you know, stuff to help them with that particular thing. If they're struggling with sleep, we curate the content so that that shows up in their feed, you know, so whatever. And if they're wanting more to just focus on spiritual growth, or if they're wanting to focus on whatever relationships, they can really curate their experience, which is really cool. I really like that personally too. Like there's something about the simplicity of that, you know, don't have to kind of always be navigating your way around. It's just nice and simple and zen.
Yeah. And there's a community aspect
Yeah.
embedded into this app as well, isn't there?
There is, and it's something that will continue to build out more and more and more as time goes on. So, yeah, and the Mindfulness Summit especially is a big focus for us, and some more live events will be rolling out. So we really just got born into the world, and there's lots and lots of community building, lots of content building, lots of event building with the summit that's going to be coming out in the next year, which is really, it's fun.
Sounds like it's going to keep you busy too.
So I don't think I'm going to be getting bored anytime soon. I've got plenty
Yeah,
to do in the middle of the pandemic.
yeah. Um, Look, I know you've got some other things to do today, so perhaps we'll look at winding up the interview. But before I let you go, and because yeah, you've had this really interesting journey as a teacher, you know, and now you've just launched a new app, and it's got all kind of other directions to move into as well. So you've been across a bunch of different experiences as a teacher, and I wonder if there's anything that you've learned along the way that's one of the most important things that you've learned along the way as a teacher that you might be interested in sharing with our community as they're watching this, maybe, yeah, sharing some wisdom that you've learned personally as a teacher.
You know, the first thing that comes to mind, and I think that the first thing that comes to mind for me is just the word authenticity, which just to me means doing my best to not kind of play a role, if you know what I mean, to not to as much as possible. I mean, it is in just a very practical sense, it is a role, like it is a thing that we're doing. You know, it's our job to pass on certain information, and also to do our best to embody presence and to like pass the fragrance of that on, not just intellectually but like, you know, in here. But I think one of the biggest shifts for me in teaching in general has been to not be, how do I put this, to just not be at all shy about bringing my whole self to the table, you know, and letting people know that I'm in the trenches with them, you know. I'm in the trenches with you guys, like I'm solidly in the trenches, like I'm learning this stuff with you, and I'm by your side, you know. I'm with you on this journey. I think, you know, what I would just say about that is it just changed how much joy I had in teaching, because I know so many of us, like, I don't know how many of you guys are going to be watching this relate to me when I say this, but like oh my God, the imposter syndrome in teaching mindfulness. Like I have had horrible imposter syndrome. Like, who the hell do you think you are, teaching people that you don't have it together? And I think any sort of thing in me that felt like I had to be all together and I don't know, whatever that feeling of you're supposed to be this way if you do this, and I can still have that. I can still live with that. I can still have that inside of me and just show up because I love people and I would like to share this with them because it helps people not suffer and it helps me not suffer. And so it's just, if I just come from love and just go, I'm going to share this with you because the material itself is amazing and exciting and beautiful and powerful. But I think when I stopped in any way, shape or form expecting, like worrying about people's expectations of me so much, you know what I mean? And just kind of showing up and just going like, yeah, I'm in the trenches with you, but just showing up as my authentic self. And not that it doesn't mean that I overshare. It doesn't mean that I, like have to say to people, I don't have it together. I'm a bloody, I'm a bloody messy human just like you. But I think it just comes through, you know what I mean? I think they just get the vibe of like, I'm sitting here with no armor on, like, and it's not that I don't feel imposter syndrome anymore, but I just know that imposter syndrome is a normal, natural thing for me to feel, and it doesn't have to define me, doesn't have to change anything that I do or anything that I go for in life or anything that I share. But I can just have that inside of me and just be with people because I love and care for them, and just, that's enough. That's what I've got to give, and that's enough. I just let myself kind of be authentic and kind of messy and wonderful, and just trust the practice and trust the process. That was a very long-winded answer,
No,
but that's
oh
what
gosh, it
authentic, I
was a
think that's what
lovely answer.
authenticity is.
That's great advice. Enoughness. How about that? How about if we all felt that even just a little bit each day? And I think it really goes back to where we started this conversation, Mellie, which was around allowing. You were talking about that and surrender. We constantly have to
Yeah.
work at that. We can't control everything out there. So this is all part of the practice. This is all part of the teaching. So thank you very much, actually, for
Yeah.
sharing that. It's a beautiful thing to have said, and a lovely way for us to wind up our conversation today. So thank you very much for your time. It's been really great to talk to you. I've really enjoyed listening to you, and congratulations on your new venture. And it's exciting for me to hear that you will be having another summit. Wow, that'll be interesting to see, like 6 years on, where things might have shifted with conversations and ideas. And if people want to access your in real life teaching when you get back to Australia, it's mrsmindfulness.com, isn't it? Your platform.
Yeah.
Yep. And if
Yeah.
they want to find out
Yep.
about the app, it's
Yeah.
mindfulness.com.
Yeah, mindfulness.com, and yeah, and at the moment you can go to mindfulness.com and get a free trial that's got there's a whole bunch of stuff there. I mean, I know there's a lot out there at the moment for the pandemic, but there's a free series called Calming Crisis there at the moment that's a really beautiful collection of yeah, really grounding and centering practices, and some free mindfulness courses and stuff on there. So
Great.
yeah, you can check out the daily coaching, see if it's yeah, just check it out, see if it jives with you. Yeah, mindfulness.com.
Yeah, great. Well, look, I mean, there'll also be meditators watching this as well who are not teachers, so I'm sure people will be interested, or just checking out what it's like as a teacher to launch an app. So there's lots of rich pickings, I guess, for people across, to match their needs. So thank you very much again, Mellie. It's been great. And I'll just wind up now. Thank you for you, our audience, for listening. And yeah, if you're interested in finding out more about Meditation Australia, we're a membership organisation. So our website address is meditationaustralia.org. You can find registered member teachers if you're looking for a teacher. You can also find out more about the resources and services that we offer and where to learn how to become a meditation teacher as well. Thank you very much for listening to Mellie's and my conversation today, and I look forward to speaking to you again next time.